Hi. Good, and you?
Rookie mistake, you hate to see it happen. There we go. We got my mic working. How are you?
Good, and you?
Pretty good. So without further ado, let's ignore that bumble and how would you define the occult?
Events that involve dark entities, such negative entities that usually like feeding off of people's energy.
All right. I have to concur with that. Is yeah, principalities of evils, anything they really do is within the umbrella of the occult. Is the occult within our daily lives? And can you give a couple examples of it if it is?
I'd say it is. And I think demonic possession is a very common thing. And there are tons of actually examples I could give. There's a lot.
Okay, I believe it is as well. I agree with the possession, but I believe that it takes forms in even sinfulness. Is every time we sin, it's influenced by the Beelzebub, the devil, the slanderer, the beast with many names. Is he puts these ideas in our head, like technologies that we're not supposed to have, like the atomic bomb was inspired by Satan. Satan knows the rules of the universe, and he uses these to exploit humanity, to destroy itself. What are demons, in your opinion?
They are entities that are very negative. They consist of negative energies, and they feed off energies of the living and other things because they do not have any power of their own. And by feeding off of these energies, it gives them power.
I slightly disagree on that. I believe that they are self-sustaining in a way. They're fallen angels. Well, it sounds like a mosquito, but they're fallen angels. They're the demons are the lesser angels that fought alongside Lucifer in the first battle of heaven and hell when he tried to usurp God. He failed, and he got cast to the Hades. And the other demons, they became, or the other fallen angels, they became the demons. And anyone that didn't really take a side was just sort of cursed to earth in sort of a dogma style scenario. How would you describe possession by a demon?
It is when a demonic entity is attached to the person's, either their soul or their spirit, and is able to use that to manipulate their mind, their health, and things that go around them. They are feeding off the energy of that person's soul.
Honestly, couldn't say it better. Since we're already on demonic possession, anything on MK Ultra, trauma-based mind control, there's lots of correlations. That was a comment. Looks like you're up. You want to give some history?
Well, I know it started, the first program like that was in Nazi Germany. When through Project Paperclip, the Nazis came over to the U.S., the U.S. adopted the same program and has had a long history of using that same mind control up until modern times. Like today, they are still using that same mind control. They basically take children, repeatedly traumatize them, many times through incestuous sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is very, very prominent. And they split the brain of that child into multiple personalities, which is dissociative identity disorder, which doesn't really occur naturally. It must be produced by repeated inflicted trauma. What they do with these personalities is they program each personality to serve a certain function. So in many cases the personalities aren't aware of each other. So you basically get the perfect secret agent that's an agent and they don't even know it. Sometimes they're used as sex slaves for high up political people to either spy or blackmail them. Other times they're used as killers. In latter years, from the 90s later, if not earlier than the 90s, I know that the psychic abilities and using demonic summoning to produce psychic abilities in a person through demonic possession was also utilized by the government, such as stuff like pyrokinesis, telekinesis, through getting a demon attached to a child. The child can themselves channel it, and then you basically get a weaponized person. The problem with that, controlling the demon.
You've mentioned something when I was talking to you about this before, about them trying to summon and kill Jesus.
Yeah, there are some beliefs because this is black box stuff, so it's not really, it's iffy onto what exactly they're doing. But and sometimes this is the theory that they do have time travel, and they time travel to the future when the basically the apocalypse happens, when Jesus returns, and they get the people of the 144,000 that are good still, and they take their souls, bring them back, and try to program them to kill Jesus because they are capable of recognizing him.
Okay. We've already gone through that point. Is there a concrete and an abstract nature of evil?
I'd say that yes, there is. There's the abstract, which is the energies we talked about, and then in these summonings they do to summon demons, it becomes a very, very concrete thing which can be felt.
I disagree that there is no concrete evil. I believe that there is a concrete principle of evil, but not a nature. That there is objective good and there is objective or evil and objective good. But I don't believe that there is any concrete evil. I believe they only exist in the aether, in the spiritual realm. They can manifest bodies into the physical realm, but they have no physical abilities themselves. What do you believe gives the principalities of evil power?
I don't think they have any powers of their own, and so they must use methods such as demonic possession to get power. Also, people that worship them and do perform sacrifices to the demons also gives them power. I think violence and violent events does also lead to them having more power, especially when they are done in the name of that entity.
I believe that they feed off the evil of the world, that they can stimulate evil. Like they can plant evil thoughts into your head. They can tell you to sin within your head. And then when you use your free will to activate that, they feed off of that lost love from God. That they just they plant these evil ideas and then they use that to grow, to gain bigger armies for the armies of hell. Now, how would you say that evil manifests itself in our world?
Through I think a lot of this evil manifests through the summonings that they do with the sacrifices.
No, Devin, we're not going to teach you how to summon a demon.
Yeah, that's very highly dangerous, and unless if you want to destroy your own life, then that's the way to go. But we're not teaching people how to destroy their own lives.
Yes, we're not doing that. Sorry, Devin. Not sorry. I believe the Mandela effect is actually a manifestation of evil in this world. It's actually done through the next point, the Large Hadron Collider. And what it does is it bends the fabric of reality as Satan knows the rules of our world. And he's had plenty of time to devise and think of how he can get power within this world. He could actually tie into your time travel theory, is that he uses the Hadron Collider to bend reality to his own will because he has no power to do that of his own.
For me, if you look at the statue outside of the particle collider at CERN, it is a statue of Shiva, which is also can be called Kali the Destroyer.
Yeah, Shiva, the god of life, love, and death and dance. Or not love. Life, death, and dance, and rainbows. It's a tranny. Done some research.
Okay, so if you look at that, that they do worship, there is that statue of Shiva. I had an occurrence as a child where I did witness one of these demonic summonings as a child, in which they did have that same statue of Shiva on the. There is an altar, and then there's like this ritual set up, and they had that same statue of Shiva at the demonic summoning. I saw it looked like a younger child that was being sacrificed. That was not nearly as frightening as for me as the eyes of the woman doing the actual sacrifice, because looking into the eyes of that woman, one could not only see that there was absolutely no human in that body, but there was something very, very dark and evil looking back at me. The room was also charged with so much evil to the point that it literally felt heavy just standing there.
Well, let's move on to technology. We've talked about the Hadron Collider. I believe the 5G technology, that it isn't that it's going to be mind control. It's that it's going to render your mind less functional so that it will be most susceptible to the prones of an evil impulse. And how would you explain paranormal activity or occult activity almost, and like white noise, radios, TV frequencies, and say AI and stuff?
I think the spiritual realm is the source of everything that really occurs in our physical realm, and our physical realm is just merely the result of the spiritual realm. So that's just stuff bleeding through from the spiritual realm, manifesting itself. AI, people think that the brain is a computer. I don't believe that. And I don't think no matter how intelligent AI becomes, that it's not going to be a person, because it's not going to have a soul unless God gives it a soul. And because of that, it's very, very prone to being used by evil and evil forces.
I do agree with the AI take. I believe that since most AIs are learning algorithms, they will be influenced by the slanderer. The slanderer will use these AIs and trick them, and I believe the false prophet will be an AI that is revealed in Revelations. Now, big thanks. This question's from you. Is Lucifer and music? I don't think you have an opinion on that, but I do believe that the slanderer is responsible for a lot of music, like "Hey Jude" by the Beatles. It's such a good song because it is indeed written by Satan. It was written by the slanderer, just so Jude here, lost a word there. Patron or Saint Jude, apostle. That's the word, Apostle Jude. Just you can't pray to him without thinking of "Hey Jude, don't make it bad." It was written by Satan for that purpose and that purpose alone. Satan plays a huge role in music, and he uses music to corrupt society. A lot of the pop music today that's really catchy, really hooky, really sticks in your brain has a very degenerate message to it, to the Christian moral values. Okay, so here's my question for you. What is the soul?
The soul is the self, the identity. It's also the energy that makes us, that energy that connects all of us to each other. When it is said that God made us in his image, I think God is an inner being of energy, and I think that the image he made us in is actually referring to the soul, not the body. And I think because it is made in God's image, it is very, very powerful.
My chat disappeared, but I definitely do believe that we were not made in the physical image of God. I do not believe God has a physical image. I mean, I like my icons as it help me remind me to pray, but I don't believe God looks anything like that. But we were made in God's image as we have free will. I'm not sure that the soul was necessarily God's image. I mean, the free will is with housed within the soul, but the soul is so much more than free will. The soul is life. The soul is free will. The soul is everything that makes us us. The mind processes, but the soul is what decides. So what do you think happens when we die?
I believe that we are reincarnated. The hell that we experience is merely that bad people experience would be just a really bad reincarnation or a series of really horrific reincarnations. The heaven would be a really good reincarnation or a series of very good reincarnations.
Okay. I believe that when we die, we wander the earth for about 3 to 7 days, roughly. It can be 1 to 7. That isn't really a defined time. But we wander the earth for a short period, around a week after we die, trying to come to terms with the fact that we died, that we have to face the judgment of the Lord. And then once we accept that, we go on to the divine plane, which is a singular place. Heaven and hell and purgatory all exist within the same plane. And we go before the Lord's infinite loving light. And we then either steel ourselves and harden and get burnt by the Lord like hard clay, or we are like gold and we get purified by the Lord's loving light. Yes, I know it's the Orthodox stance, but I am Roman Catholic. Well, I identify mostly as Roman Catholic. Some of my beliefs are at odds with the Roman Catholic belief. How do you explain ghosts?
I think ghosts are spirits that don't realize they are dead yet, and they're kind of stuck. Part of the process of when you die is dealing with karmic attachments and soul contracts, potentially for a next life or an unfulfilled one from the life you just ended. And I think just ghosts are the result of not wanting to engage in these contracts or face the karmic energy attachments.
We'll get to what a soul contract is later, Devin. Well, I have 2 theories on ghosts. Having seen ghosts before is one was of my grandfather, I believe, and the other was just a generic spooky skeleton thing, spooky Scarrington. But what I believe that ghosts are is it is either a lost spirit that hasn't moved on to the eternal plane yet, which I believe neither were, or it's a demon playing a trick on you, playing mind games. That brings us to the soul contracts.
For me, I did a past life regression hypnosis session, and for me, I found out that I was a Russian World War I soldier that died in battle. Myself and everyone around me were slaughtered by Germans. For me, I was shot in like the abdomen area, so I slowly bled to death over the course of a few hours. But I did die, and I was really pissed off about it, and so I swore to God that I was going to come back and fight the people that had hurt me and that were destroying my world, because I felt the world around me was just kind of falling apart. Because I think we can all agree World War I should have never happened. Mm-hmm. At the time, there was a man who was also a Russian soldier who was one rank under me, who said we were kind of stuck together near each other when we died, and he was saying he would stay here to guide me when I said I was going to come back to life again to fight the whatever was destroying my world. And so I'm here now, and I'm not fighting Germans, I'm fighting darkness. And I also found that my spirit guide's name is Lieutenant and does appear as a World War I soldier.
Can you go more into spirit guides?
Spirit guides, for me, it was the result of a past life. Someone I knew from a past life.
What I kind of mean by that is, what's the difference between a spirit guide and a ghost?
Spirit guides aren't stuck. They have moved on, and they spirit guides and guardian angels are basically very similar, if not one and the same.
Okay. And what happens when someone sells their soul, and can it be reversed?
It depends if the roots of the soul are still intact, of whether it can be reversed. When it sells their soul, there is an intrinsic energy in the soul that is very powerful because it's modeled after God. When someone sells their soul, they tell the demonic entities that, hey, you can use all this energy of my soul to do whatever you want. So that's because of that, their soul degrades, it erodes, it rots, as their energy is siphoned off by demons, and because of that, their health, in their life will usually completely degrade over time.
I got an interesting question in chat. What constitutes selling your soul? I'll answer this first. Is I had some experience with this as in my edgy teenage years when I lost faith. Is I verbally sold my soul for goods on earth, and I had dreams, vivid dreams of the slanderer himself, and black masses before I even knew what a black mass was. Is I saw these things in vivid detail when I did that, and then once I started returning back to the church, these dreams went away, and I haven't had one since.
I believe that even just thinking about it, like thinking very intensely about selling the soul and basically making a contract in your head with an entity, or verbally talking about it, as you did, or even going full human sacrifice or blood sacrifice does constitute selling the soul. Obviously, depending on which ones you did, it would be not nearly as binding. So a mental or verbal contract is not going to be very binding, but if you do a full blood sacrifice, you're pretty screwed.
Do you know what a black mass is? Somebody in the chat's asking, and I'm wondering if you want to explain it. Maybe you can better than I can, or should I try to?
Would a black mass be like what I saw as
a black mass is a satanic mass.
I witnessed a sacrifice, not necessarily a satanic mass. People were wearing weird cloaks and masks, and there was the altar and the human sacrifice.
Yeah, there's not necessarily a sacrifice in a black mass, to my knowledge.
I don't know what that is. I can tell you about a human sacrifice, but I can't tell you about a black mass.
What I saw in my dream was pretty much Roman Catholic mass, but demonic, and with floating podiums, and it just gives me goosebumps thinking about it. How about soul bonding with demons? Let's get past that. I don't want to think about that too much.
Soul bonding demons, I think that's basically what I said before. Like a mental contract would kind of bind your soul to that. Those bonds can be broken, though.
We're going to get into some non-canon scripture. This is where Big Think of Samoji would have been strong here, but I decided to keep it. Let's go with the Gospel of Thomas. I know you don't know these very well. Is from what I got from the Gospel of Thomas is that Jesus knew absolutely everything from the start, which I don't doubt. I honestly believe that much is truthful. The rest of it, I throw a little bit of doubt on. But I believe that Jesus's divine nature knew from the beginning that he was bound for the cross. He makes allusions to the cross. Take up your cross long before he is sentenced to crucifixion. Long before. Now, where I throw some doubt on it is when he curses a boy and the boy becomes a corpse. He curses a boy and the boy falls dead and his parents become blind. But then he reverses the earlier acts, which means God would have to admit that he was wrong. And so that's why I also throw a huge doubt on it. He resurrects a friend who fell from a roof. I throw some doubt on that one. Heals a man who chopped his foot off with an axe. I could believe that. But this is all as he was a child. And the other one is another couple miracles. He carries water on a cloth. Sure. Produces a feast from a single grain. Yeah. I mean, that's not too unreasonable from scripture. Stretches a wood beam to help Joseph finish constructing a bed. Maybe. I don't have any problems with that. And the rest of these I'm really fine with. It's just the curses. I can't deal with that. And then there's the secret book of John, which by its own declaration, the secret book of John is a sacred text intended to be shared only with individuals properly prepared to receive its revelation. That's all I got from the entire article on that one, really, is it kind of really, it struck me as some New World Order stuff, which brings us into Behold a Pale Horse. Do you believe that Satan is in man's nature? Basically, the strive to become God?
Not necessarily.
I hold a little bit of a belief that within man's nature, this was an unintended consequence of the creation of man. It is within us having free will. Within us having free will, we ended up with the drive to get power. It is Adam and Eve wanted the fruit of knowledge to be more like God, to know more, to know what God knows. They wanted to be the elite. They wanted to be equivalent to God. And you see this throughout the Bible of men trying to become God, the Tower of Babel, all of this. And you see it even today is the New World Order, the destruction of the Christian nuclear family with population control, feminism, gay liberation, and the invalidation of religion, the perversion of religion, and the attempt to establish a state-sanctioned religion. Have any statements on that?
I believe that the fight between good and evil, between like cults of like evil trying to take over the world, I agree, has been going on even potentially pre-biblical times.
Pardon? I was reading the chat, sorry.
It has been going on since like way before we realized, even since like 3000 BC, even prior to that.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the oldest known human text, dates back to about 3000 BC. Is the oldest scripture.
I think it's been going on since even before that.
Yeah. So who do you think the New World Order is? Is it just one party or group, or is it a collective of groups? Or
a collective of multiple parties.
I roughly concur, because I believe they all have a common goal, which could collect them as a group, but it is multiple subgroups that are viewed as groups. No echoes. So do you believe that fascism is a tool of the New World Order?
I'm not going to get into politics.
Okay. I mean, I was using this to transition into the United States, but I guess that's a little political. Let's go to the New World Order and occultism. Human sacrifices.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this before when I explained Nazism and K-Ultra. The Nazis dabbled in the occult. And
more than dabbled.
Yeah, more than dabbled, but when they came over through Project Paperclip, the U.S. picked up those programs and has been using the occult ever since. I believe that many forces in power, they use these black magic, demonic sacrifices, praying to the whatever demon that happened to be. I know Moloch comes up a lot as a demon they pray to frequently. That they pray to him in order to have earthly power, to stay in power on the earth. And I think without their near constant sacrifices and rituals to demons, I don't think they'd have any power at all.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something about human farms.
The elite have a drug called adrenochrome, which is derived from adrenaline that they use, which since it is derived from a natural body bodily substance, they don't have, there's no side effects. It's like the best high of your life with no side effects. And to harvest adrenaline, they have human farms where they take people, they basically torture them to basically to death, and they harvest the adrenaline in that way.
So basically some Amnesia, the Dark Descent stuff where they're torturing people to salvage chemicals out of them.
Yes.
So I'm going to take an interesting take to this, which has probably been taken so many times it's unbelievable, is the Neon Genesis Evangelion angle. Is that Sele from Neon Genesis Evangelion is basically the New World Order. And I believe this might actually reflect the actual New World Order's intent, is making man become God by merging all human experiences into one entity, is to combine us all into one entity, maybe by dumping us all into a cybernetic grid or something. And we all just become one entity, and we think that we'll be as wise as God.
That's foolish, because I feel that everyone is already attached spiritually, and then to try to make that attachment even stronger is just dumb.
Well, it is just dumb. It's against God's will. But do you believe that if they were to remove the barriers between my soul and your soul and merge our souls with everyone else's souls, that we would become the same level of woke as God?
Not at all. Most people, and I'd say most people living now, have neutral souls, so they don't have bad souls with negative energy or good souls with positive energy. And the ones that do have bad souls and good souls, they're going to cancel out each other. So you just get a bunch of neutral, which is not powerful at all. And it's just like, you think that's not going to come even close to God if it's going to have any power at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're reaching the end of this. Let's get to general populace occultism. Do you have any stances on tarot cards or Ouija boards?
Ouija boards are extremely dangerous and should not be used.
Yes, as I have played with tarot cards, and I just, something's bad about them. Is I had them, and they just didn't feel right in my hands. They definitely have some sort of bad to them. It's not just random number generator if you get them from the right source. And Ouija boards, it is a very grave and mortal sin to try to seance the dead. You should never seance the dead. Well, it was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
And I will talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
All right, everyone. Well, I will not be having a stream next week. I will try to upload a video. I will be out of state, and I'll probably be getting about home right about now next week. And so I'm going to have to step out for a stream. I'm going to try to upload something, but it won't be a stream. I bid you all adieu, and have a good night. Let's try to get this audio clip going.